Hey everyone, welcome to the Couples Take On. I'm Austin,
And I'm Shelley.
and today we're going to talk to you about integrating life-changing events and experiences such as hair follicle testing for your cellular well-being. So Shelley, will you give us a little background of yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Shelley McLeod, and I have been a registered nurse for about 18 years, working primarily in emergency and critical care. I'm really excited to be sharing with you this information. Even though I worked primarily in the Western medical system, I've always been dipping my toes in the holistic health. And it's clear that some of the most important things we can do to safeguard our own health and really take control of all the elements of our life, which is going to include nutritional components as well as environmental exposures. Austin, do you have a brief introduction?
Yeah. So I'm Austin McLeod. I have a master's in medicinal chemistry, and I've been very passionate about healthcare because I've had a lot of health opportunities in my life, and just focusing on the whole self, the whole well-being, is something that I really want to help people do. And as a former teacher, I would really like to help break down this information into digestible pieces so that you can make an action plan to optimize your health and well-being. And with this hair follicle test, it gets some amazing data and helps you pinpoint where you might want to take a look. Shelley, you want to jump in?
Yeah, we're going to be giving you a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to provide an overview of the information contained in the epigenetic hair analysis report, along with a quick glimpse into some of the individual pages so you can get a feel for exactly what kind of information will be extracted from this report to give you that benefit, that understanding of how to deal with the specific needs of your body or those of your family members and so on. And I'm going to be giving you a couple of case studies just to highlight some of the ways in which we use this information from the report to really dig into the individual details as to what's affecting our specific bodies and physiology. First and foremost, our genes are not our destiny. This is great news. I think for a lot of individuals who felt that everything that was in their genetic history was likely going to be something that they experienced in their life, the reality is that scientists now say that about 98% of our genetic predisposition can be controlled by what we eat, how we limit our environmental exposures, and of course, just our general lifestyle habits. How many of you have gone to a physician and had your blood work done and everything comes back in the normal range? If you're a 40-year-old woman, here's the range that you need to be in, and your physician says, gosh, everything is within range. Everything looks great. You're normal. Go on and live your life. But you're not really feeling like everything is working as well as it should be. You want to understand some of these details. You don't want to fall within range and say everything's fine when you know that's like not exactly how you're feeling. So you want to dig deeper and get some of those more specific answers. Epigenetic testing really allows us to see how all the different elements of our body are being affected by the environment that we live in, the foods that we consume, and how well our body is absorbing all those things. The fact of the matter is that food availability, nutritional values, all of those things are changing throughout the year. So even those with the perceived best diets can actually have some of their own health challenges as a result of just the way in which our food supply is produced for us, the availability during different times of the year, and all of those different factors are true and actually affect us in a great many ways. I think one of the biggest things that surprised me with the epigenetic testing was environmental factors and how deeply they affect us. Unfortunately, most of the time, environmental issues don't come up with symptoms. We might have a toxic metal exposure. We might have pesticides, chemicals, hydrocarbons, or electromagnetic frequencies affecting us, and they don't let us know that this is a specific issue behind our health challenge because, again, we don't normally attach our symptoms to those actual environmental issues. So this report is going to give us the ability to dig into those details and really understand how those influences are affecting our genetic representation and expression. This quote by Dr. Mark Harmon, who, as you can see through some of the credentials here, he's a very well-renowned physician as well as founder of many different health organizations. He says about epigenetics, your thoughts, your feelings, your belief, everything that happens, your joy, your sadness, anger, they're all translated into biological signals that change your gene expression, impact your immune system, hormones, your microbiome, brain chemistry, pretty much everything. And that is true. All of these different factors can affect our health. Even our emotional status can affect the way in which our genes are being expressed. And now we have an opportunity to understand how all these different influences are really affecting our individual health and well-being. So about a year ago, Austin and I received these hair follicle tests, and they just sat here at our house, and we weren't ready to take them, and I don't even quite know why. But I finally decided, hey, let's go ahead and do the hair follicle testing. I had blood work done a few weeks before doing the hair follicle test, and when the results came back, I was blown away. Many of the things that I saw in my blood results were showing in my hair follicle, but then many things that were not in my blood results were showing in my hair follicle. It was then that I realized how much of an in-depth level of information and understanding about different specific influences could be seen in this test. You might be wondering why there's a picture of a tree trunk on the slide. It's an analogy that gives you an idea of how the hair really stores the information and how it delivers it back to us in the form of this epigenetic testing tool. Think about a tree trunk. When we were back in elementary school, we learned about trees and how they grow. If you were to chop a tree down and look at the individual rings around the tree, it's going to tell you what the tree lived through in its life. And that the larger diameter of that particular ring, the bigger the influence that issue had on the life of the tree. So something that was a big, gigantic influence, such as a drought, bugs, or a fire, or something like that, is going to be shown as a large diameter, a large ring around that tree trunk. Our hair follicle operates in much the same way. As we're going through that ever-evolving life cycle, layer upon layer, ring upon ring of information is deposited around that hair follicle. And as it goes into our S-Drive scanner, which is that little picture of the device you see there in the slide, the scanner pulls the follicle apart and looks at those individual rings of information. And that's what's going to be produced on the report are those big rings, those things that are showing us the more pronounced need or more pronounced influence that's going on for that particular individual. We take just 4 strands of hair. Again, we're going to be looking at the hair bulb and understanding exactly what is being influenced for that individual. The wonderful thing is that it says on the slide here, the results will return to us in about 15 minutes. No longer do we have to go in and do some sort of analysis, whether it's blood or anything else, and wait sometimes several days, sometimes weeks for some information to come back to us. We're a population that kind of lives in the moment. When we're interested in something and we want to know what's going on and we're engaged in that kind of activity, we want those results to be provided back to us quickly as possible. This report gets returned to us after we do the hair pull and send it off to Hamburg, Germany. That report gets returned to us in about 15 minutes. This is German-based technology, again based out of Hamburg, Germany. It's been in operation for about 15 years and it's in multiple countries, 67 countries to be precise. It's been in the United States for about 8 years now, but once again, it's been a very effective tool for individuals in the nutrition field, the medical field, the functional medical field. All of these different types of individuals are using this tool to really get information on a very specific level about their clients and their individual health influences. I want to give you a quick overview of the report itself and hit a couple of the detailed pages as well. This is what we call the optimization overview page, and it really summarizes all of the details that we're going to learn about for the individual throughout the course of the report. You can see that there's some key nutritional information noted here. Anything that's highlighted, that's numbered in this particular wheel, is going to give us our area of influence, those things that we want to focus on most specifically. It's going to show us any systems that are challenged, so we can identify those systems that are not functioning at their best level and address those. And then it's going to give us some details about food restrictions. And again, a lot of information that we're going to see throughout the body of the report. So this is just the summary page.
All right, thank you, Shelley. So I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on the report so you can get a feeling for what's coming up. So right here in the nutrient support summaries, we're talking about vitamins. And right here in this sample report, a top priority is vitamin K2 and then vitamin D3, which those are related for making vitamin D and then your sex hormones like testosterone or estrogen. And then they have a vitamin B9 and B1. So now you're no longer guessing about what vitamins you need more of or less of. It's showing up in your hair follicle test. Jumping into the next section about environmental indicators like where do you live? Where do you work? What's around you? Like that's taking a look at heavy metals, radiation, chemicals, and hydrocarbons. In this particular sample report for optimizing your environmental and immunity and well-being, like right here, it comes up with toxic metals. Like what might you have been exposed to, like maybe lead paint, or maybe you've been exposed to toxic metals from like gasoline or things like that, or maybe other environmental factors. So once you find out what your environmental indicators are, then part of the report is coming up with a 90-day game plan of what to do about it. The next thing that shows up here are the pathogens, such as parasites, mold, fungus, bacteria, virus, like post-viral infection, like what's the viral load? How do you optimize resistance? In this particular report, the first thing that came up is reduce load of bacteria, then reduce load of post-viral particles. Okay, so then that's just a sample, but there are many other sections of the report, but I just wanted to show you a couple. The next part is what are you going to do with this information? What are you going to do to integrate this information? What are you going to do to disintegrate your prior habits or anything like that? And the key here is to not get overwhelmed. Like just that's why I want to break it down for you. So this part is about food recommendations and a roadmap for any nutritional challenges that were detected, giving you a specific list of foods to consume, and then some supplements to target when food isn't an option for you. Like, for example, if you need more omega fatty acids, but you don't like to eat fish, then you can have the supplements instead. Okay, then the next part of the report is about food and food additives to avoid. Be mindful about food allergies and food sensitivities. If your doctor already wants you to avoid those, then continue with that. But this tells you about foods that you might want to avoid. In this particular report on the right side, this is suggesting to avoid, for this particular person, based on their hair follicle test, to avoid like cantaloupe, rye, avocados, and duck, or whatever. For your report, it would say what you should consume or avoid. So here's a case study of Charlie. You could see here like just horrible eczema, itching, burning skin, scabs on the entire body, restless sleep for the baby and also the mom. They were kind of at their wits' end of like, didn't know what to do, always going to doctors. And so they're like, okay, I'll just try this hair follicle testing. And so they tried the hair follicle test, and guess what came up? Dairy insensitivity, heavy metals, and high viral load. Let's take a little deeper dive in this. So 2 months later, after utilizing the optimization report, showing clear skin, only mild scarring, sleeping through the night, happy and playful, and the mom had much more relief too. As it turns out, some of the environmental factors were chemical exposure that showed up in the hair follicle testing to avoid certain things, two of which were major ingredients in the cream being used on the baby for eczema. So that was very interesting to know, and the baby's doing much better now. So there's different types of reports. Like The main type is immunity and well-being from the hair follicle test, but there's also other plans like liver and metabolism. There's ones for babies and child, like we just saw. Um, Athletes, age management, like healthy aging. And then everyone asks about this. Can I do this for my pet? And so there's dog and cat ones available as well. And all of those are available via a postal kit that you can mail in. Now, if you live in Stockton or you're willing to travel to Stockton, we're going to do these in person at Green's Nutrition. And we are collaborating with Dr. Eunice Green at Green's Nutrition to do the hair follicle testing on site in Stockton. But for those of you that might live out of town or have relatives or friends, then we can do the mail order kits for you. The plan includes 10 key optimization areas, key support indicators, a 6-step optimization plan, food adjustments, food additive avoidances, and then foods to eat. And what I really liked about this report is a couple years ago, I had some kidney stones and they told me everything not to eat, and I had no idea what to eat. And so I really like that this report focuses on a plan of things you can eat. And I found that really helpful. Just to kind of summarize, um, hair follicle testing is a great way to see what's going on with your hair follicles, see what's being rapidly uptake or possibly not being uptaked enough, so you can adjust your food intake accordingly and also check your supplements. Of course, this can help you with optimizing your body functionality, maybe see some target areas. Again, this is super quick. This is non-invasive. This is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And of course, this could be a great addition to work with your primary care doctor and your healthcare team to see what's going on with you. There's some cases that your blood work comes up great. Oh, there's nothing wrong, right? But then kind of there's something going on with you. And this offers you a chance to take a deeper dive with a hair follicle test. Also, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I had a couple more examples to give.
Yeah, go ahead.
So an example is a young man who's struggling with severe digestive issues. He's on a very limited diet and he has been for a number of years, and he wasn't making any progress with the digestion. So by doing the epigenetic hair analysis, it turned out that he had a significant food sensitivity that was affecting his GI system. So we were then able to identify specific foods that were causing the problem and get him on a much more appropriate diet that was not causing him the digestive distress. And then as a result, he's been able to make progress from a digestive standpoint that he was not able to do up until that point. Another example is a young girl. She was 4 years old and she had all the appropriate testing, which is including blood work, different types of things. Everything was coming back normal. But in the case with the blood work, they were doing when it was coming back fine, but the mom had that intuitive nudge and knew that something else was going on with the daughter. So by doing the epigenetic hair analysis for the young girl, it turned out she had a very strong parasite that was affecting her GI system. So no matter how much food, good food that the little girl was consuming, and no matter how much nutritional supplementation she was taking, she was not able to absorb any of the nutrition into her system. And so it wasn't until it was understood that there was a parasitic issue and being able to address that and get her cleaned up from that standpoint. And then she started to gain weight at a rate that she should be gaining. And so then this was a good example of how this type of information can help us to understand what might be going on for an individual, even with traditional testing comes back as absolutely normal.
So it's like following that intuitive hit, doing the hair follicle testing, use that in combination with your doctor and healthcare team to find out what's really going on with you. And that comes back to like your gene expression based on your environmental factors, like you saw with the baby with Charlie. Part of the reason for some of those skin conditions was actually the cream that was supposed to help with the skin condition.
That was prescribed by her doctor.
Yeah. So it's like, but like having more information can be really helpful when it's not overwhelming. And so what's really great with this report An optimization plan is, yes, it's a lot of information, but it's also targeted information. You can jump into it. You can work with your healthcare team to have it make sense for you and figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Right?
Yes.
Any final thoughts? We're gonna do some more videos about like our specific tests, and they were very revealing. You know, they say you can have a cheat day on your diet and stuff, but that stuff definitely shows up in your hair follicle test, and Shelly will tell more about that next time.
It knew I like sugar. Nobody knew at 8 o'clock every night I was having sugar, but the hair follicle knew.
Yeah, the hair follicle test. So if you want to read up more information for healthycells.com, you can check it out. If you have more questions for us directly, you could email us. If you'd like to book an in-person hair follicle test, you can go to Greens Nutrition in Stockton. You can follow us on Instagram or YouTube. And then down in the links below, we'll put more information for you to sign up if you would like a mail order kit. And if you want to come in person, you can call up Greens and schedule that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.